What's going on, guys? Tired Gamer Dad here today, and we're going to be going through my experience playing Ghost of Tsushima in a review type setting. Now, with all of my reviews, I award 1 to 3 points on the plus or the negative side for every talking point that I have listed here, and then at the end I will give a final score. The higher the positive, obviously the more I liked it. The more the negative, the more I think it was absolute trash. So for you, I'd like to hear your opinions on it. Go ahead and drop a comment in the comment section below. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe. Now that we've gotten all that out of the way, let's jump right into Ghost of Tsushima. First of all, I want to give it an obligatory +1 because it doesn't have microtransactions. I can't believe we have to do this in this day and age, but it is what it is. Now, as far as the setting behind Ghost of Tsushima goes, it is a very samurai-style setting, which is something that I feel in gaming nowadays is starting to have a bit of a renaissance. Sekiro, Shadows Die Twice is a great example of that. There's a lot more games coming out along the way that have that Far Eastern Japanese / Chinese / Asian style of a setting, and that's something that I feel that we need to see more of in gaming. It's something that I don't think is as explored as other venues are, so that gets a nice +1 for me. Now, as far as the visuals go, it is so pretty. Absolutely gorgeous. There's a lot of things that I can talk and break down about as far as the visuals go, but basically Ghost of Tsushima, and I don't mean this in an exaggeration, as of today's video, is the prettiest video game ever that was released for a console. Now granted, PC, you have those big high-end graphics cards that makes everything insanely beautiful, but Ghost of Tsushima is gorgeous. Everything from the environments to the armor sets, to the weapon skins, to the flowers and the blades of grass, the definition, just absolutely killer. Gets a big bonus from me. Now, the other thing about that is with the expansive visuals, it has a great, beautiful, vibrant colors, things that, a lot of other games nowadays have that gray, unsaturated, that bleak, boring, blah environments. Ghost of Tsushima has a lot more vibrant colors, as I mentioned before, that's usually saved for basically kids games like Fall Guys and things of that nature. So it's really good to see that in a mature style setting. Now, to help you enjoy those visuals is the fact that the game doesn't actually employ a HUD per se. Now granted, you take damage, you heal yourself, things like that. You have a very minimalistic HUD that appears, but to get around, usually you'd have a compass or a checkpoint or markers, things like that. Most of that is done away in Ghost of Tsushima, and instead you get the winds that you can summon at any point by swiping up on the touchpad of your PlayStation 4 controller, and it just guides you, it blows in the direction of where you want to go, and you can set your markers on the main map screen when you hit the pause menu. And that's a really nice touch, a very minimalistic HUD. It's not overcrowded, not cumbersome, and it doesn't detract away from the absolute painstaking work that Sucker Punch undoubtedly went into to make Ghost of Tsushima as pretty as possible. Now, as far as storyline, anybody who knows me knows I'm a huge fan of a narrative in video games. It's what makes me get through these big adventure-style games. And the main storyline of Ghost of Tsushima is phenomenal. It's very well written, very beautifully presented. The dialogue is excellent from beginning to end. I feel it's mostly subdued dialogue, which might turn some people off, but I think it fits with the setting and the tempo of the game very well. On top of that, each of the main side characters, the main companions that you get along the way, all have their own tales. And these tales aren't just they're long-winded adventures that span the course of the game, but they're broken up in these nice bite-sized missions that you do across the way. And they're all really well done. They give character development, they advance that with every single side mission you go on with them. And that's a really good touch that I feel that a lot of games tend to misstep on. As far as the rest of that goes, however, there's a lot of other things you can do. You can follow foxes and visit shrines and collect all these different resources to give yourself more upgrades and things like that. It's all well and good, but it's kind of shallow and gets very repetitive after Act 1. The game is broken up into 3 main acts. And by the time Act 2 was just about done, I was like 3/4 of the way through Act 2. And most of my skill trees and things were mostly maxed out for my playstyle. I was just dumping points into things that I had no intention of ever really using in the game. And I feel that it goes with the saying of vast as an ocean, but shallow as a puddle. Everything outside of the main storyline and the character tales, I feel, are kind of a waste of time. They're all very repetitive. They follow the exact same rhythm for every single mission, aside from the mythic tales as well. The mythic tales count as side tales in they're pretty good kind of review there. But you go somewhere, you take a few steps, you talk to a person, you take a few more steps, you kill some Mongols, and that's the mission. And you do it over and over and over and over again. And I feel that it just kind of detracts away from the game itself. So much so that I was starting to get bored, and I just focused mainly on completing the side quests for my companions, doing the mythic tales, and the main storyline. And I felt satisfied by the end of the game there. A lot of those missions you also get to fight bosses. I say bosses because every single boss fight also feels exactly the same. It's the same kind of samurai style showdown, which looks incredible the first couple of times you see it, but after 12, 13, 14 times, it tends to run its course, and you just kind of eye roll, wishing you could mash X to get through it, and then, continue on with the game. But the boss fights are very formulaic, very same-y. It's just, counter, stab, or do your, mythic attacks to break their guard and just, drop them. It doesn't have a lot of creativity behind the boss fights, which I think could have helped the game along a lot better, or at least given them different movesets, different, attacks, different variety to them. They're all essentially either with a sword or a sword and a shield, and then a very rare occasion you'll get somebody with a staff. But it's just extremely rare, and it just kind of goes, yawn. It's very samey over the course of the game. Now, as far as the difficulty goes, I experimented with a lot of the different difficulty levels from easy to hard, and I feel that the game is very fair from a difficulty standpoint. I feel that every single time I died or, got beaten by an enemy, it was my fault. And in the harder difficulties, those enemies punish you very, very hard when you make a mistake. They don't really advance as far as the AI goes on the harder difficulties. It's just mostly eat more damage when you make a mistake, die sooner, that kind of thing. But I feel that it's very, very fair in that regard. On the easier levels, it's much more enjoyable for the casual gamer if you don't really want to spend a whole lot of time grinding away and learning and practicing every single mechanic, switching your stances to every single enemy type. Easy mode will give you a moderate challenge while also just allowing you to push through the game and enjoy the story a little bit better. So the difficulty is very, very fair. Now, as far as the exploration goes, when you have an open world game, you want to do something to encourage exploration. I mentioned earlier that I gave the obligatory +1 because of no microtransactions, yay. But you can still get a lot of different skins, a lot of different armor sets in the game just by playing the game. Kind of a novel concept, right? It does get very samey, but when you see the rewards for what you get to, you decide whether or not you really want to push through that particular mission for that reward. And the game is very upfront with the rewards you get for every single mission that you do. So if it's something like, oh, there's a new armor set that I can get by completing this, okay, well, I guess I can go through this and clear out this fort or collect these armor pieces or keys or whatever to get this armor set if it's something that I really wanted to get. But otherwise, just exploring around and collecting these flowers that are scattered throughout the world allows you to change the skins, the colors, the dyes for your armor sets, your weapons. There's a lot of customizability with this game that I think that will encourage that exploring and kind of allow you to just grit through the same style of the missions if it meant getting cooler stuff, and getting a cool outfit to go running around Tsushima with. So I think that that's a way that they try to encourage you to go through it, but it's kind of also a design flaw because they're like, well, we know that the game is going to be kind of samey, but, here you go. Here's a reason at least you'll be getting through it, kind of a thing. Now, there is one particular part to the story and the overall arc of the game that I'm going to highlight for you guys. Now, it's not really spoilerific, but in the beginning of the game, you do some very unsamurai-like things. You do some cheaty things, you fight a little bit dirty, and the game kind of hints at that you shouldn't do that. So I'm thinking, when they highlight that as the beginning part of the story, oh, well, I should probably stick with, playing honorably because I'm a goody two-shoes kind of guy. I like to be light side all the time, Paragon, Mass Effect, that kind of thing. So I played very samurai style for most of the game. And what I really wish somebody would have told me is that that means nothing in the storyline. Play as dirty as you want if you want to play dirty. There are multiple endings to the game, but the ending you get isn't really chosen until the very, 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 very end of the game. So you don't need to worry about being a sneaky, thiefy assassin opposed to a honorable samurai. So play how you want. it doesn't affect the main story overall. It's just something that I wish the game would have told me about earlier. And then finally, overall, Ghost of Tsushima, excellent game. It's a fantastic addition to the PlayStation 4 exclusives, and another great reason to own that particular console. I cannot recommend it enough. Eventually, I'm sure it'll find its way onto PC, just like how Horizon Zero Dawn did, but it's not going to be for a while, I would imagine, and I would encourage anybody who has a PS4, you're kind of honor-bound at this point to pick up Ghost of Tsushima. It is an excellent title, has very in-depth characters. It gives you a lot of fun Japanese folklore and those kind of stories that if you were a fan of that kind of setting, it's really cool to listen to and experience. On top of the fact that it's just absolutely gorgeous, as I mentioned before, it's the big selling point for that game. And the gameplay is serviceable enough to get you through the game from beginning to end. For me, it took me about 40 or so hours, but I feel like you could do it much, much sooner if you just stick with doing the main side missions for your companions, and then the main storyline with the side quests whenever you want a cool armor set or something like that. It's, for a minimalistic standpoint, it'll get you through most of the game. I will highlight, however, that once the main quest is over, you do get to explore the rest of the island and wrap up everything that you missed. So you don't have to worry about missing a quest or anything like that if you proceed to the next act. It will still be there for when you go back into the game, and I think that's a very nice touch that allows you to go back and platinum the game later if that's something that you're interested in. So that's my review of Ghost of Tsushima. That's just my opinion. What's your opinion on Ghost of Tsushima? How'd you like it? How'd you dislike it? Drop a comment in the comment section below. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Also leave a comment if you'd like different kinds of feedback for different videos I'm going to do. I'm going to do more games, of course, but I'm also going to touch up on movie series, pop culture things, television shows, all that great stuff. So until next time, I'll catch you guys later.
Hail the conquering hero!